How's it going, Internet Land? This is Zachimus Prime, aka Zachimus Prime, bringing you another Transformers video review. Today we're going to be reviewing the masterpiece, the movie masterpiece, MPM-03 Bumblebee. And it's a pretty nice figure. It's a, of course, this is based off of his appearance from the 2007 movie, the first of the Michael Bay movies. The first of the lesser movies, not to be compared with the original 1986 movie, which I think is still the best, but it's just me, I'm a G1er, kind of, not really, but I don't know. I suppose I could talk about how I feel about the movies, but maybe this isn't quite the place for it. Hey, look, Bumblebee. He's a Camaro. He's a yellow Camaro. I saw somebody on, was it TFW or somewhere else? They were just ranting about this figure, just ranting, complaining about it, and they're like, "Oh well, there's some minor detail on the front grille that it's not how it's supposed to be, and there's some, like, the slope or the angle of the hood is not how it's supposed to be, and that the side view mirrors are not how they're supposed to be, and all this stuff. That basically what they were saying is that the masterpiece figure should be indicative of, you know, its on-screen counterpart, and this one is subtly different from that, and so it was just terrible. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm okay. So first of all, if you want to be really specific, in the movie, that was not a Camaro. No, that was actually a Pontiac Grand Prix that had a completely different body kit. The Camaro was still in its prototype stage or concept stage, and there were no production versions of it. I don't know that Chevy really kept around all the tiny little nitty-gritty details of the prototype versus the production version. So when it comes time to review and approve the model for the masterpiece Bumblebee, like, the production version is what they're going to have on hand. And so, and as far as I can tell, this is pretty true to the production version that came out 10 years ago. And so, but yeah, this is a masterpiece scaled figure, which means it's going to be a little smaller than a deluxe class figure. Sorry, a little bigger than a deluxe class figure, but a little smaller than, like, you know, the Human Alliance figure. It is pretty much on par with the masterpiece style figure or cars. Having seen the Camaro in person, and I got a buddy of mine who actually has one of these Nissan Fairlady Z's, or not, of course, this style, but you know, he has a Nissan Fairlady Z. This is pretty much the same scale, I can tell you that much. So he's a good masterpiece scale, and he's a nice looking car. Takara went with their usual thing that they've been doing as late, which is, oh hey, we're going to mold it in yellow, but we're also going to paint the entire thing in yellow as well. So all of this is painted, every single external surface, it's all painted, all of it, which more or less helps, you know, make it the color consistent. There's a little bit of inconsistency in here because this is a clear part and this is a yellow part, but I don't know, I feel like the yellow plastic they used is actually kind of translucent, and so you still get this kind of, I don't know, effect. You got the Camaro logo there, Chevy logo here, Chevy logo here, license plate. It's all accurate. You can see his tags are out of date. So yeah. But anyhow, let's get this son of a bitch transformed. So we're gonna start, as with pretty much every Bumblebee on the planet, we're gonna start with the doors. One interesting thing to note, by the way, so when you pull the sucker out of the package, he comes basically like this. Like, the doors are slightly open and he's packaged like this, and I'm not sure exactly why. If there's some sort of long-term issue with having him packaged, having him in vehicle mode a long time? I don't know. They don't really explain it why, but nothing seems to be tabbed together. And I pulled this thing out and I tried to put it into car mode, and it was just ridiculous. It was having none of it, and part of it is because structurally, this figure, it doesn't have a lot of cohesive structure, especially if you look at it in terms of front to back, and so it's not a very rigid figure, and so it kind of becomes fiddly in vehicle mode. But once you get it all together, it seems to fit together fairly well. And there's things that you do while in transformation that may not have been done at that time and are harder to do while it's already in car mode. So we're going to take this and we're going to fold this at that point, and then fold this at that point, and then pull the windshield up like that, and then that's going to flip over. And this is all going to sandwich together. Let's focus on the legs for now. We'll take these panels and we're just going to put them up halfway. That will eventually like seal this whole deal. So we're going to take and we're going to lift this whole panel here, and at the same time we're going to yank all this out. Lift that up a little bit, yank some more. And we're going to extend the leg here. You can hear that nice clicking joint in the knee. This part here comes out. There's the toe. And then we're just going to take the wheel and move it out. Fit it into that spot there. And this part is going to, so you'll see there's this tab right here. There we go. We're going to move it so that this flat part here lines up with that tab. Otherwise, if you put it into her, because you can put it in here, but then the heel isn't going to come down. It's not doing you any good. So clear that, plug that in. And then back here, we're going to pull this up and fold that all down. And then there's a tab right here and a slot right here. We're going to pull this down. It's a little stiff on that hinge joint, but it all seems to work out. And then we'll just take this and move that like that and turn it like that. And that is the leg all done. Let's get to the other leg. Done somewhat like the first. Okay, I'm just teasing. It's done exactly like the first. They're symmetrical. It's kind of fun to have figures that aren't symmetrical, but this is definitely not one of those. It's quite symmetrical. Open that up, put this out, open that, bring out the foot, bring out the rest of the foot, bring out the wheel. I do like how the wheels like fold in. I think that that's a really nice touch, because I mean that's how they were in the movie, and it's not something that you see on most Bumblebee figures. Usually the wheel is like on the foot, but not necessarily in the foot. I think the Nitro Bumblebee maybe did a transformation like that. I'm trying to remember offhand. I used to have at least one version of every Bumblebee sculpt, because I'm kind of a Bumblebee fan, a bit. Even though, yes, I was also in the team of people thinking that they should have killed Bumblebee in movie 5, but that's neither here nor there. So there's his legs all done. They look like a nice set of legs, and we're going to get to the upper body. Upper body is going to be a little bit more interesting because I got his legs hanging out, but it's also a lot faster, so we'll have this done lickety split. So with this all out of the way, oh shoot, I'm not even in frame. Sorry, I moved his arms. So with this all out of the way, we are going to flip his head around and you just push on this part and pull up on there, his head will fit right through this little keyhole here. Hopefully. It still feels like it scrapes a bit. And, you know, it kind of does, but I don't know. Maybe just don't transform it 5 times a day. I don't know. I don't know what the best piece of advice for that is. So now with all of that out of the way, we can take this and we can actually put them together. Fold this up here. Fold this into there. And then this metal piece will fold up into that tab. And then this, there's a tab right here that fits into a slot under here. And there's also this groove comes onto that. So we're just gonna put that into place and put that in place and just shove it all together. Like so. Take his chest, thin it out a little bit. Don't have such a fat chest, Bumblebee. Gosh. And then we're going to take these panels right here, and there's a hole. There's a hole right here and a slot. There's the slot. You can see my finger through it. And up here, there's a peg and a tab. So we're just going to kind of put that up and massage it into place. Bam, like that. Same with the other side. Bring it up. Kind of like bullshit it into place. Yeah, and it happens somehow. It's always wonderful when that happens somehow. All right, and now we're just going to kind of clean him up. Put that up, put his little sub wings down. Oh, I touched his face. I shouldn't have done that. I found the best way to get these little tiny things out is to just turn his head and pull them out. The little collarbones or whatever they are. For his hands, you're just going to open up this panel here. His hand flips straight out and then close it back up. I do like that his hands are on swivels. It's one of the things I like about him. I'll get into that in just a second. All right, so put that, kind of angle that, kind of stand them up. I like to put these big heel spurs down a little bit. Helps keep them angled properly. Put his arms out a little bit, and still feels like he's leaning. But yeah, there's Bumblebee, Masterpiece Bumblebee in his robot mode, and he looks really good. I think he looks. I mean, of course, he's not going to be literally the same as his on-screen counterpart because that didn't actually work for reals. But I think this is probably about as good as you can get. Maybe a couple things that you could do differently. I think they could have done a few things if they had made him a bigger scale. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with the scale he's at. He looks nice. He feels nice. Like he's got a good balance to him. This is a die-cast part here, and this is a die-cast part, and this is a die-cast part. There's a little strut in here that's the die-cast part. So most of his die-cast is focused on his feet, which, as I've said many a time, the feet and the legs is where the die-cast needs to be. There is one die-cast strut right here, but I think that's mostly for structural and not just for weight. But he's got great proportions, you know. Like he looks really good. I do like that he's got some bulk to his forearms. I think that's a good piece of specificity that needed to be done. I like how they made it so that the back of his legs have got the tail lights without having it stick like way out, like some of these figures do. I do like these wings. I kind of wish that there was like a swivel right here, so you can maybe angle them out a little bit. I also wish that there's a swivel right here, so you can angle these up. I think that they kind of need to be up a bit to really really mesh with his on-screen look. But just a really nice looking figure. The sculpt on him is really nice. I think that he could probably use a little bit more paint apps, if I had to be perfectly honest, because he's got, like, you can see some like really cool details in here, you know, that are not painted, and there's some really cool details in here that are not painted, and there's some really cool details like in here that are not painted, and you know, there's like this, like, you know, spring looking thing in his knee and it's not painted, and there's, you know, like all this, there's a ton of detail on his abs, it's not painted, and like the sculpt is really good. The paint job just feels like it could have been like a little bit better, in terms of detailing. Like in terms of actual, the paint that's here is good paint. It's all mostly pretty good. I do have little splotch right here on his arm that shouldn't be like that. His eyes, I don't know if you can see this, maybe we'll go like this. His eyes are a little bit off center, and so he looks like he's like flipping out like the whole time, and just you know, a couple little details like that. I mean, and no figure is perfect, so I'm not really complaining about it, and I know that it's not a you know, a thing that's prevalent all across the line. It's just you get random QC sometimes, and that's all right, you know. I don't think that that's terrible. I think that a lot of people want to expect perfection in all of their figures, and I don't know that that's really reasonable. But let's do a little bit of size comparison. Here he is with Battle Blades Bumblebee. My Battle Blades Bumblebee is customized. He doesn't have any blades, so he's just a Battle Blasters Bumblebee. Yeah. Some things I really like about this figure, but actually this is my favorite Bumblebee currently. I'm still taking some time to evaluate this one to see how I feel about it, but this one has been my favorite for a long time. And then let's compare him with the Leader Class Bumblebee. And this comparison, of course, oh, here, look, the Leader Class Bumblebee is bigger. Well, of course it's bigger. Mostly I'm comparing here to see, you know, a lot of the similarities between the sculpt, some of the details. They did really good on all of these figures, but you know, none of them are as complex as the Masterpiece Bumblebee, so none of them enjoy all of the same. Like, they've really nailed his proportions really well, and I like that. Let's get down to his poseability real quick. His head is on 2 pivots. Oh wait, I guess I haven't really gotten into all of the gimmicks. In terms of gimmicks, his head opens up right here, and every single time I pull on this, that tab gets caught. Now, except for this time. This is the very first time the tab didn't get caught. And this comes out on a little double hinge and sticks over his face and closes back down. And now he's got a face mask, so he can hide his face when he's fighting the bad guys. You can also take his forearm, fold that up, and then you can take his gun, and it fits right over like so ish. I don't know, like I feel like this could have been tweaked a little bit, because then you take the tabs that plug into his forearm here in vehicle mode and here in robot mode. Now they plug into these little holes right here, on the cannon. Let's get that plugged in. And that holds that on fairly tight. But it also like pulls on this side more than it pulls on this side. And so it pulls these apart and exaggerates that seam in between the gun arms. So like it ends up not looking nearly as good as I think it should. Certainly nearly as good as I think it could. But yeah, there's his gun arm. You can go shoot at stuff. And I suppose that's kind of cool. I've never been the hugest fan of the face mask. I do like the gun arm, but I don't think that this is the best execution of it. I think that if this didn't have this big unsightly seam in between, I think that it would be very acceptable. But it does, so I'm just I don't know that I like that at all. I mean, it's not the worst execution of that I've seen. Like I kind of like the way that they do the Battle Blade Bumblebee one, where it folds up here and then this like opens up. And then this folds down. Like I felt like this was a decent solution. Not a perfect one by any stretch, but a decent solution. Some of the ones that are kind of iffy is the Age of Extinction one, where he just had the little flipping thing. That was really kind of lame looking. And while it looks nice, it's not really a gimmick per se. But like this one right here, where it's like it's just constantly in the gun mode. Not the biggest fan of that either. I think probably one of the most iffy versions of that is in the Battle Ops Bumblebee, where he had this weird like translucent claw thing that came out of the gun when you folded it up like that, and then when you put it straight out, it retracted and it was just all gun. I thought that was super iffy. That was actually my least favorite part of the whole figure. But anyhow, that's his gimmicks. That's literally his only accessory and the only real gimmicks that he has. So back to Poseability. His head is on a swivel here and it goes up and down. His shoulders move freely about. They will get in the way of the doors, so you can't like just go wild with it. His arm goes out all the way. There is no solid connection on this joint, so it will also want to move when you move things around. So, but you can compensate for that pretty easily. There is a little thingamajig on his shoulder here. I don't know exactly why, but yeah, there it is. If you want to do that, okay. Elbow joint with about 90 degrees, more if you count the hyperextension there. He does have a bicep swivel. He does have a joint here. This is mostly for transformation, but you can still make use of that in Poseability just a bit. His hands have a swivel. I can't tell you how much I really enjoy that. I have always been sick and tired of this like monkey arms Bumblebee, you know, the monkey arms Bumblebee. I don't like that, you know. I think it'd be great if he had like a below the I don't know. But I think it's great that you can like take this and actually like give him like an actual elbow here and have his fist in the right position, you know, because this is how he was when he's just like standing there. He hardly ever like, I mean, he did from time to time, especially when he was trying to like look badass, you know, he'd go like that. But like this is how you saw him a lot, and this is part of his iconic look, you know. This is a natural pose. his fist, I really like his hands. So they've got, here's the 2 fingers there, the 1 finger here, and the thumb comes out like that. The thumb is not on any kind of a pivot, but given the size of this, it's really forgivable. But it makes his hand actually real expressive, because the finger goes out real straight, you know, the thumb goes out real straight. You don't have the like crooked finger issue that a lot of these posable finger transformers have. So he can do like a really good point, you know. He can throw you the thumbs up, you know. He can stand here and make you gay if you look, you know. I mean, seriously, he's just, his hands are really, really nice, and I like them a lot. This is it really adds to the expressiveness of the figure. He does have a waist joint. The waist joint is pretty nice. There does feel like there's just a little bit of interference inside there, but I'm not sure exactly what that's all about. His hip will go forwards all the ways, back all the ways on this nice clicky joint. It will go out as well, also clicking. If you can get this armor to not clash with, there we go, that's the best way to do that. It will go out that much, so that's pretty nice. He does have an upper thigh swivel. His knee has got about 90 degree of bend, a little more if you extend the if you take into account the hyperextension. His ankles have got a little bit of pose to them. They don't really move front and back like pretty much at all. Now, to counteract that, you can take this and you can extend his heel spur, and then his toe will bend forwards that much, and vice versa. It will go back a little bit, though. This one right here, this heel piece doesn't move at all, so you gotta kind of like tip that forward, and you know, like there's a little, you can fake it a little bit, but he doesn't actually have any forwards and back tilt on his fist. Also, his wings, they have a little bit of tilt like this. I wish it was more. I wish there was a way to do that, like to extend this joint out a little bit more maybe, or put in a pivot here maybe. I don't know, I think it's more likely to extend that out a little bit more, so it clears the edge of this. That would make it so you can tilt his wings up, but as it is, they will tend to tilt down, and then you get sad Bumblebee instead of happy Bumblebee. No, you get sad Bumblebee. And then there's no Poseability on these, which I think it would have been nice if there's just a little bit. But yeah, all in all, I think he's pretty good. I like him a lot. He's fun. Definitely worth the purchase. I think $80 is maybe a little too high for him. 80, 90. I've seen him going as high as 100. If you can find a deal on him. Oh, by the way, this has got a peg, and there's a hole right here, and you can stick it right there, and it looks dumb. There's my review of that. If you can find them for a little less than MSRP, I think that's definitely the way to go. But I mean, if you have a burning need for a Bumblebee in your collection, yes, definitely. Definitely pick him up. He's a good movie figure if you like that sort of thing. He's a good Bumblebee figure if you like that sort of thing, and he really captures the one thing that I like about the movie designs, which is he doesn't look like a car. You know, like I've really been impressed about how the movie designs like turns from like a coherent looking vehicle to just this like robot, you know. And like you pull out, like this guy is like, hey look, his feet, you know, are car parts, and his legs are car parts, and his arm is a car part, and there's a car part there, and there's a car part there, and like it looks like you just take a car and like cut it up into like a couple pieces and like reconfigure it into a robot, which is basically how it works. But this guy is like, okay, yeah, there's a car part, and there's a car part, and that's a tire, and you know, the car just kind of goes away in robot mode, which has been impressive to me. That's the thing that I've liked best about the movie designs, and that's one of the reasons why I have so many movie figures, despite being a long time advocate of the idea that the movie designs just kind of are not as good as some of the other better designed figures. So I don't know. I still believe that the best designs out there currently are on the comic books. IDW has been doing some great stuff. But that's all I've got for today. Everybody, thanks for watching. I know this video is a little bit long, but I like this figure, and there's just a lot to say about it. But everybody, be good to each other and have a great day.